Niranjanam Nityam Anantarupam Bhaktanukampa Vigraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamidyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namama Jananim Saradam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagatgurum Padapadme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu Namasri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchid Sukhaswarupaya Swami Tapaharini. So in the last class, we completed our study of the first chapter of Swami Vivekananda's Karma Yoga. So today we are going to start the second chapter. The second chapter's title is Each is Great in His Own Place. So first, let us start with the reading, and then in course we will start with the explanation, the discussion on the writings of Swami Vivekananda. Each is great in his own place. According to the Sankhya philosophy, nature is composed of three forces called in Sanskrit Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. These are manifested in the physical world. These, as manifested in the physical world, are what we may call equilibrium, activity, and inertness. Tamas is typified as darkness or inactivity. Rajas is activity expressed as attraction or repulsion. And Sattva is the equilibrium of the two. So Swami Vivekananda starts with the concept of three guna, the three gunas, which constitutes the entire universe. The universe, as its constituents, has these three gunas. Now, to understand the idea of these three gunas, Sattva, Rajatama, there are various perspectives. But here, in this particular chapter, the perspective which Swami Vivekananda is taking into account, let us have a bit discussion on it so that as he proceeds, we can have a clear understanding of what he intends to say. So we will find in this world, everything is in motion. In very, very preliminary science, we have studied that anything which is in rest has an inertia of rest. And to make it move, we have to just apply a force. And when it starts moving, it has its own inertia of movement. Now there is no need of applying the force, it goes on moving. Unless you want to stop, and again you have to apply force to stop it. Just to take, let us take the example of your car. In the morning when you bring your car out of your garage and you're just about to take the roads, first what you are doing, the car is just standing still there. I start it, and after just starting it, the first thing I do have to just accelerate it. And when it's already on the road, after some time, to be within the speed limit, what we do? Now almost that we have removed our feet from the accelerator. The car starts moving by its own. Almost by its own. So what's the idea? So here also the same thing, that the object which was in rest to make it move, we have to apply some force to accelerate it, and then to keep it in a particular speed, we again need not exert any force. It moves on by in its own, with its motion continues without applying any force to it. So you may say, no, if I don't apply the accelerator, the car gradually starts slowing down. Actually, there is a force in the form of friction of the road, the friction of the road. That way it is acting on your car and it is slowing it down. If theoretically we take into consideration there is no friction, that once the car starts moving, it is supposed to continue in its state of motion, even when you are not applying any force. So these three states of motion actually defines the entire universe. Even you take, generally we take that the universe started with a big bang. That you will find that this idea of equilibrium, activity, and inertness, this is the thing which constitutes the entire universe at the time of the Big Bang. Just for our example's sake, we know that before the Big Bang, there was no, this universe, this phenomenal existence was not there. Now, when this phenomenal existence, just keep it aside. When this phenomenal existence came into existence after the Big Bang, a very interesting thing. The force with which it happened, is something very interesting. If the force was a bit more, everything would have scattered out. Everything would have scattered out. The universe, the galaxies wouldn't have formed. If the force was a bit less, everything would have been pulled back and a huge black hole would have formed. The force was exactly the thing which was required for the creation to happen. So you will find that for anything to exist, there should be an equilibrium. In the Second World War, when the nuclear bomb exploded, it resulted in devastation. But now you will find what is happening. The same nuclear force is used in a controlled nuclear reactor in such a way that I control it. I don't allow it to be a just chaotic explosion. It is in a very controlled way. It is the controlled fusion. It is in a balanced way it is done. So the same destructive energy, instead of destroying, what it is doing, it is used for producing power. It is used in a constructive purpose, which we can use. So everywhere you will find that the force which we use has to be again used in a well restrained way, so it finds an equilibrium. Why we are all saying all these things? So you'll find the entire creation, everywhere the same thing is happening, not the Big Bang. Sequentially, whatever happened in the universe for its formation, you will find it is not simply a chaotic force. It is all happening with certain controlled rhythmic way. The way the atoms have formed, the ratio of the nuclear forces are such that which enable the formation of the atoms. Otherwise, it wouldn't have formed. So what we are saying here is this is the idea that for anything which is having the potentiality to manifest as something, when it is lying potentially hidden, everything is potentially hidden, then we need to exert, we need to endeavor on it to manifest. Once it manifests, then again you need not endeavor. Just without any endeavor, that state continues. It is a thing when you are highly active, but at the same time you are inactive. Everywhere, even in our day-to-day life, the same thing is happening. Suppose I want to learn some musical instrument. Now all the potentiality to learn it is within me. It is within me. But when I am yet to learn, if I have lethargy, I will never learn. If I have no intention to learn, I will never learn. At the beginning, with the intention, with the motivation, I start. Then the rajas, the inertia now is getting converted into rajas. How? At the beginning, I find I have to give lot of labor for it. A lot of endeavor has to go to really learn it, to get the skills. And a time comes when you become an adept in that playing that musical instrument. Now a wonderful thing happens. What's the thing? That though you are playing wonderfully, a magnificent piece of music, but it is effortless. It is almost effortless. So you have reached the state of sattva. There you will find that there is no endeavor. Now the thing for which you had to give a lot of endeavor now has started giving you bliss. In the language of modern psychology, you have entered a state of flow where your skills have reached the challenge, and then you have entered into a state of flow where there is no effort. The maximum activity is going on, but at the same time, the state of rest is continuing. So that's the thing. That's the equilibrium in the entire universe you will find, whether it is in the microcosm within you, within the each and every being, or it is in the macrocosm, in the any phenomenon in the universe. This is the thing which is constantly happening, that each and everything has the potentiality to express itself in a particular way. And to express itself, it has to have some form of energy, force, effort. After some state, it comes to a state of equilibrium, and then no force be exerted. Just take all the geostationary satellites. The same thing with a great force. That's what the force is equal to. It is equal to the escape velocity. But in science, we have studied the gravitational force. When it equals to the escape velocity, the satellite starts moving out of the Earth's orbit after some time. When the escape velocity equals the gravitational force, now no force as such is required. It starts orbiting around the Earth. It is used for various technological purposes, but the main science is that if the force with which I am ejecting out the satellite was greater than the gravitational force, then it would have simply been ejected out without giving us any utility. It wouldn't have been a geostationary. But as we use it exactly the force, which is equals to the gravitational pull, it goes to a state of equilibrium. It's just revolving around the Earth and serving a lot of technological purposes. All our at present, this internet class, online classes, everything is possible because of all those geostationary satellites, which are as if in a state of equilibrium. So, for any thing to happen, for any creative thing to happen, so this is the procedure. Everything which has the potentiality, but that potentiality is yet to manifest, that is as if in the state of tamas. If from there I can never go to the state of sattva directly. It may appear that I may go. It happens. In the school you will find, when the mathematics teacher is solving a problem in the blackboard, the way he does so spontaneously, the students feel, oh, this problem is very easy. I can also solve it. Now, after solving it, the teacher just simply cleans the blackboard, rubs out or whatever he just cleans the blackboard and asks the students to just solve the same problem the way he has solved. Now, when the students were looking at the teacher, they felt it's so easy. Now, when they start doing it, they find it's not that easy. They're getting stuck up at almost each and every step. What made them it feel easy? The spontaneity of the teacher, the way he was doing it. Now, how the teacher has started doing that thing so spontaneously? Because already he has went through that training. Now that has given the spontaneity, as if there is no effort behind it, which makes other feel that as if he is doing without any effort, effortlessly. So many times it has happened when we are about to learn the car driving. I'm sitting by the side of the one who is driving the car, and seeing him driving, I feel it's something very easy. how spontaneously he's driving. And he just gives the instructions, some basic instructions, and I think, oh, just to follow this and drive, I can also drive like him. The moment I am behind the stairs, now I find it will take time. It takes about a month, about so many sittings to really get an idea how to drive. What made me feel it is easy? The spontaneity. He already, the one who is driving, has already gone through that process. So all those skills are already within us. We have to endeavor to have to a certain extent. And then when it becomes spontaneous, then again, the effortlessness comes, which was in the state of tamas. Sattva is a wonderful state. Apparently, it appears you are effortless, but actually it is just the diametrically opposite pole of tamas. This tremendous activity is going on, but beyond that activity, tremendous spontaneity has ensued because of the equilibrium. And now the things appear as if the thing is happening without any effort. So now we should understand that effortlessness, though it appears to be something that I can achieve, the one who is in the tamasic state may feel I can achieve it very easily, but it has to go through the rajas. We cannot reach the state of sattva, that state of flow, the state of bliss, without going through that endeavor. Sri Ramakrishna used to give a wonderful example that what's all the sadhana? Sadhana is, all our endeavors are like, it's just rowing a boat against the stream. So he used to say, suppose a waterfall, a huge fall is coming down from the mountains, and by the time it hits the plain, it bifurcates. It divides into two streams. It's like a U-fork. And when you are just rowing against the stream, you are in one of the leg of that fork. So now you are going against the stream. By the time you come to the bend, now when you continue to row, now you will get the favorable, because it's on the bend. From the bend, you're on the other leg of the fork. So now you're going to get the favorable flow, the favorable flow you are going to get. So now you need not have to row. So Ramakrishna says that in our life or any effort, at the beginning, we have to give full effort. The boatman, he has to use both the hands, rowing, perspiring, fully exhausted, but it's not something which will go on infinitely. By the time he reaches the bend, now very nicely Ramakrishna in a poetical way, he says, in one hand he is just holding the helm to keep the direction of the boat towards the destination, but there is no effort. The other hand is free. With that, he's having a smoke, a hubble bubble, totally relaxed. So how nicely he's giving that example. So when we have to go to the destination at the beginning, the tremendous rajas is required because we are going in the opposite stream as if. After a time, the bend comes. That bend is, in the language of the modern psychology, the point where your skills have reached the challenges. Your skills have reached it. It is that bend is that point. Now the flow ensues. You are in the favorable stream. Without effort, the same movement is going on, but there is almost no effort. So this is the basic idea behind all the things which is happening in the creation. So just to first to have the potential to realize, I have to have the effort. That laziness converts into rajas, and that rajas should again should get an equilibrium, go into the sattva state to really be creative. Otherwise, creation won't happen. If our rajas is never built, is never controlled, it will lead in destruction. Even in the Chandi, the idea of Mother Kali is also the same. You'll find the entire Chandi is divided into three parts. This is the first part. The presiding deity is Mahakali. In the second part, it is Mahalakshmi, and in the last part, the presiding deity of the trimester is Mahasaraswati. It's very interesting. It has something to do with the human evolution. Mahakali is a destructive force. Mahalakshmi speaks of prosperity, and Mahasaraswati speaks of the evolution of culture, education, learning. That's how we have evolved. You see, as a human being, when we were our ancestors, predecessors were food gatherers, they were in the forest, they were the forest dwellers. Constantly they have to fight against the nature. Just to survive, constantly they were fighting against the nature. And when they learned agriculture gradually, now this effort is getting converted. How? Now they did not have to think of fighting against nature for their each and everyday survival. They have their own village, they have abundance. There's, because they have learned agriculture, they did not have to think of food the next day. The food is stored, the wealth has come. Mahakali leads to Mahalakshmi. And when the wealth comes, with the wealth comes leisure, lot of time. That for 5 months or 6 months I had agriculture. What will I do with the rest of the time? The rest of the year, I am now free because I have sufficient the storage of the cereals which I have already cultivated. Lot of leisure. So with that leisure, what will I do? Now that culture comes into existence. The Saraswati comes into existence. So that effort need not have to go just endlessly. When with that effort you reach a certain state, then the culture, the learning, everything comes. So you will find that even in Chandi, that is the 3 states. So everywhere, in from various ways, if we discuss, we will find that's the thing. That first we had to have that effort to reach to a state of equilibrium, and again a state of effortlessness comes. But this effortlessness is actually just the diametrically opposite to the effortlessness with which we started. So though apparently they may appear to be same, Swami Vivekananda in many places have told that tamas always comes in the disguise of sattva. In our life, we should be very, very cautious about it. In meditation, most probably we are just drowsing off in our meditation. And sometimes we think that after that nice drowsy state, we think, oh, it was a very nice meditation. Actually, I was in tamas, which I took it to be sattva. So most of the time, this tamas takes the disguise, takes the mask of sattva. So we have to be very cautious that real state of meditation is a highly alert state where you are totally effortless. Why effortless? The distractions are no more there. Willfully, again and again, you have to don't fight with your mind to get rid of the distractions. The mind has entered into a focus and which has become spontaneous. And as the distractions has fallen off, you enjoy tremendous bliss. From where that bliss comes? Because all your stress, botheration factors fallen off. We never realize in our life that when, in our day-to-day life, what is happening, even when I think there is no stress, there is a lot of stress. We got so much habituated with all those baggages of stress, concern, which we are carrying, sometimes which we are not aware of it. Just think a traveler with a huge backpack, just traveling for long. And what happens, you will find very interesting, as he's with the backpack for quite a long time, sometimes he or she forgets that he has a backpack. He's actually carrying a weight because he has got habituated with it. Now to really understand the difference, he or she has to sit down and just keep the packet, that's backpack, aside. And then suddenly he or she will find out what a relaxation. And then he or she feels that though I was not feeling the weight, I got habituated with it. But if the chance permits to keep it down, a tremendous relaxation endures. A let go comes. Why? This backpack is no more there. So similarly, for us, these concerns and stress has become so chronic. Sometimes we don't realize. Only when we enter into that state of tremendous focus, where all the stress, concerns has fallen off, the tremendous bliss that ensues is because of keeping aside of the backpack of all your latent impressions, concerns, and everything. And now you're in that state of equilibrium, the sattva. So in these various ways, you will find everything in this universe can be explained with the idea of this three guna, sattva, raja, tamas. There are various other perspectives to look at it. This is one of the perspectives with which Swamiji is starting this lecture. So let us again read these few lines of the first paragraph to reinstate the ideas which we have already discussed, so that the idea becomes more clear. So according to the Sankhya philosophy, nature is composed of three forces called in Sanskrit sattva, rajas, and tamas. These are manifested in the physical world as what we may call equilibrium, activity, and inertness. Tamas is typified as darkness or inactivity. Rajas is activity expressed as attraction or repulsion. And sattva is the equilibrium of the two. So inactivity we understood. How come it is darkness? That's also the thing, that how tamas is inactivity as well as darkness. The another perspective from which if we try to understand sattva, raja, tamas, then we will understand how it is dark. You know, we have already discussed so many times that all the knowledge which in the first chapter Swamiji have repeated again and again is not something which is out there. All the knowledge is within our mind. That's the simple example we give, the red flower, the red fragrant flower, how we perceive it. The light, its function stops here in the eye. It never passes through the eye to your brain. Means the mind is not the brain, but by seeing the functioning of the brain, we can understand the working of mind to a great extent. So that's why we're taking the example of the brain. So the light enters, it touches your retina, the function of light stops there, it has no color, as we told. The particular wavelength which strikes your light, your retina gets converted into a particular new nervous current, which passes through your optic nerves. When it reaches the brain, the color perception center, the color actually is thrown out from there. When that nerve impulse reaches your color perception center, the color is produced there. It is not out there. And that is thrown out as the redness. Similarly, the fragrant is perceived as a nerve impulse in the smell perception center, and it is thrown out as that smell. The smell, the color, everything is within. The external world is just a suggestion. So now the mind which is yet to be stimulated, when you are in deep sleep, we say he is in tamas. Why? All the knowledge is within you, but they are not stimulated. They are lying inert. The morning you wake up from your window, you look out, you see that wonderful, fragrant red flower. So what has happened? The stimulus activated all the centers, all the knowledge centers which is already within you. So the tamas is now getting converted into sattva because of those suggestions. It was already there. It is not something from outside it is coming. Now the moment it gets converted, now the rajas comes into picture. How? I feel like going out, plucking the flower, bringing it and offering it to the deity in my altar, in the small altar which I have in my house. I offer it. So you will find that the entire world, can you just think of anything apart from these three? Constantly that is happening. The world we see outside is actually within. The external world is a stimulus which converts the tamas into the form of activity. The sattva is acting on the tamas, it is converting into activity and going out. So this interplay of these three gunas constitutes our entire universe. So now the darkness, this attraction and repulsion. If instead of flower, I would have seen a scorpion, I would have ran away from it. Seeing the flower, I go towards it. Oh, it is something which is not going to harm me. It's pleasurable. So the moment I see it, it finds expression either as attraction or repulsion. That is rajas. And the equilibrium, I bring it, offer the flower, sit down for meditation. Now my mind is active. It is not in the deep sleep state. It is active. But someone comes and sees me, may feel I'm inactive. Just sitting in front of the deity with my eyes closed, a small child sees my father was or mother was sleeping, and now he has woke up and still is in the state of lethargy, as if sitting with the eyes closed in front of the deity. The child doesn't understand what you are doing, but you are now intensely active. But that activity is appearing as inactivity. So what has happened? The rajas again has got converted into sattva. The tamas got converted into rajas, and rajas is getting converted to sattva. So through this various discussion, we are trying to understand what Swamiji is intending to say. Now let us proceed to the next paragraph. In every man, there are these three forces. Sometimes tamas prevails. We become lazy. We cannot move. We are inactive, bound down by certain ideas or by mere dullness. At other times, activity prevails, and at still other times, that calm balancing of both. So we find that these three gunas actually are not separate entities. As per the preponderance, as per the prevalence, we sometimes tend to be very lazy. Though we know what activities we have to do, we don't feel like doing. That slothness overpowers us. We are lazy, we are sloth, we don't have that sufficient enthusiasm for our pursuits. So that's the state we all experience. It comes in our life. When there's a preponderance of that laziness, we are as if in the tamasic state. And sometimes we are highly ambitious, moving out for lots of activities in the life, and it becomes almost obsession. The rajasic nature, sometimes that activity becomes obsession. And that's the big problem for us in our life. As someone told, that when we start earning money, our aim was just with my wealth, I will have a family which I can sustain. And my aim for earning the money is to sustain the family and give sufficient time for it. And after some time, you find your activity, your ambition, your rajas has become so obsessive that you forget the aim. Your aim was that all this wealth was for the family, so that I can give some time to the family, I can give attention to the family. Now you find that earning that money has become your obsession. You just forget that what was the aim was. So now the family you are not taking care of, the minimum time you are supposed to give, you are not giving. This is a common problem with our human society. You will find this is the thing so many are complaining. What? Now that has become an obsession. The thing, we forget the aim, the purpose of it, and we just get obsessed by it. Like a bee, we came to suck the honey and we get stuck in the honey. So that's the thing constantly happening. The rajas, the tremendous activity, we forget that it was actually to have that leisure, that this activity was there. Now we become obsessively active, and constantly we are in that stress mode. We never just think of taking rest constantly, and that becomes the cause of so many lifestyle diseases. And sattva, some people are there, you will find that yes, they have really understood the way, the art of living. And yes, for the real happiness, they know how to have the effort for the minimum sustenance and then enjoy the life by developing some culture, the mental culture through which they can reach a state of flow, a state of spontaneity. So these are the three things which is constantly happening. That example we gave, that when we are yet to learn a musical instrument, there is lethargy, there is slothness. I overcome it with activity. with a lot of endeavor, a lot of rajas, I learn it, and then a state of spontaneity comes, where I need not have to give that same effort. Effortlessly, I can go on playing and get so much absorbed in it that I find a tremendous focus that has ensued, which is giving me bliss. So that's the thing which is saying that again in different men, one of these forces is generally predominant. The characteristic of one man is inactivity, dullness, and laziness, that of another, activity, power, manifestation of energy, and in still another, we find the sweetness, calmness, and gentleness, which are due to the balancing of both action and inaction. So, in all creation, in animals, plants, and men, we find the more or less typical manifestation of all these different forces. So, now with this discussion, Swamiji is starting this chapter. The name of the chapter, Each is Great in His Own Place. So, why he's giving this introduction? That generally in this world, the next discussion will as we proceed, we will find we are giving a prelude of what Swamiji is intending to do in the next few paragraphs. That we generally have an idea that ideal is something fixed, which is for all. So Swamiji is saying that as per the preponderance of the gunas, of these three gunas in the human being, it speaks of our temperament. It speaks of the state of evolution in which we are. Our duty, our ideal cannot be the same. It cannot be the same. All the tensions, the turmoils, the friction in the society, because most of the time we think that there should be a one set of ideal in which we should all fit in. As Swamiji used to say, that you go to a shop and there's only one size coat. Whether you are short or tall, fat or lean, you have to fit in. So that becomes the human society. As if for all the same ideal, that's the thing is there, the same law, the same rules, all should fit in that. And that becomes the cause of turmoil, tension. So as per these gunas, our ideal at a particular time cannot be the same. What is ideal for a tamasic person cannot be the ideal for a rajasic person. And what to speak of the sattvic person? It has to change. And unless we are aware of that, we, instead of following our inert, what's our inherent potentiality to, we just try to manifesting them, we are just merely imitating, trying to imitate someone. And that imitation, it becomes very poor imitation. It in no way helps me to evolve. What to speak of evolving? It actually causes a stagnation in the life. It causes stagnation and sometimes this turmoil and lot of confrontation. It leads to destruction. So gradually Swamiji will now enter into that idea. So Karma Yoga has especially to deal with these three factors. By teaching what they are and how to employ them, it helps us to do our work better. Human society is a graded organization. We all know about morality and we all know about duty. But at the same time, we find that in different countries, the significance of morality varies greatly. What is regarded as moral in one country may in another be considered perfectly immoral. For instance, in one country, cousins may marry. In another, it is thought to be very immoral. In one, men may marry their sister-in-law. In another, it is regarded as immoral. In one country, people may marry only once, in another, many times. and so forth. Similarly, in all other departments of morality, we find the standard varies greatly. Yet we have the idea there must be a universal standard of morality. So, as we were saying, that's the idea which we have, that there should be a standard, that one standard of morality for all, which we never find in this world. As he's told, as per the various countries are concerned, various societies are concerned, we find that the various standards of morality, the thing which is thought to be immoral in one society, may be quite or perfectly moral in some other society. Why it happens? It happens because of the social conditions. We need not go to the details. Just say that that marrying within what you say within the relatives, like the cousins, is prevalent in some society. We need not go to the details. You will find what has happened throughout the history, that whenever there is scarcity in some society where the resource is not there, suppose in the deserts, you know that there are nomadic tribes who are moving around in search of food, and suddenly they find some oasis, they start living there. That's a limited resource. When they start living there, they are very much cautious. If other tribes come, they won't allow them to enter there. Their war will ensue. Why? Because the resource is limited. So naturally you will find that those nomadic tribes are highly ferocious. It's not something where the nature is abundant, there you will find peace and prosperity. Where the scarcity is there, immediately that makes that people even genetically violent, because the condition is such. And not only that, in such society you will find marriage is happening within that small group, because they know if we just through marriage extend our family beyond our tribe, then what happens? We have to share our resources. So just I'm giving an example that wow, that the morality cannot be the one thing. It is because of the scarcity of resources you will find that in one society, that the marriage within the near and dear ones in a family is quite acceptable. In other societies which is full of resource, where you need not have to think where I'm going to get my next meal, then you always think of enriching your family with a varied culture. Oh, in such and such family, they have this culture of such and such thing. Why not we get involved with them, so that we also get that this culturally, we also get enriched by having all those varied cultures intermingled in our family culture. So now with the abundance, that the other thing is quite okay. They will always avoid the marriage within the family. So now you will find that just to speak of a particular standard for all, it can never be. As per the circumstances, as per the situations, just with that one example, we are trying to understand that why there are so many varied moral standards. We can never have, though we always have an idea, there should be a single moral standard for all, that the world should be divided into black and white. Anything else is as if lying in the gray zone. No, it cannot be. As per the situation, as per the circumstances, as per the temperament, our moral standard is bound to vary. So no, Swamiji is again continuing his discussion on the duty. So it is with the duty. The idea of duty varies much among different nations. In one country, if a man does not do certain things, people will say he has acted wrongly. While if he does those very things in another country, people will say that he did not act rightly. And yet we know that there must be some universal idea of duty. In the same way, one class of society thinks that certain things are among its duty, while another class thinks quite the opposite and would be horrified if had to do those things. Two ways are left open to us. So again, as per the duty, It's a very common thing. If you go in India, we find, if you go to Rajasthan, when I have heard, it's a very funny thing, but it happens. If you go into Bengal, especially from the eastern India, if they go to Rajasthan for tour, and if the hotel owner knows that the person coming is from Bengal, the, the general tendency is they won't uh, allow the Bengali, this family or the person, to get a room in the hotel. Even the booking is not is discouraged. Why? It's very interesting. The Bengal is a place of rivers and deltas, lot of water. So they never feel the need to save water while taking shower, while using water. They are quite careless about it because there is no scarcity of water. In the Rajasthan, it's just the opposite. And now when they just book the hotel, they will simply waste water and the entire hotel will be in crisis. So that's why now see the discourage. Why they discourage? They know these people are going to waste that water. So the moral standards, even this duty, here it is quite okay to have that spend water lavishly. One of our Bengali family told a very interesting thing. They went to Rajasthan after having the food. The host took the plates. They never washed it with water. They went outside and took the sand to clean it. They made it just perfectly shining, but no water was used. The one from the east will be horrified that without water, but it is perfectly clean. They do it. It's almost as good as cleaning it with water. As per the resources available, the sense of duty has changed. You will find everywhere the same thing. Means the sense of duty, the customs which we have developed, it's all developed as per the circumstances we are placed in. It cannot be something fixed. So that's what Swamiji is saying. So first he will just indicate that in our life, as per the circumstances, the duties, that our ideals, our duties, our sense of morality cannot be the same. And then he will come to the idea of the three gunas. As per the three gunas, the same way, they cannot be the same ideal. So that he's now gradually coming to that topic. Two ways. Now, if this is the situation, that in the same way, one class of society thinks that certain things are among its duty, while another class thinks quite the opposite and would be horrified if had to do those things. Now, there are two ways left out, Swamiji is saying. Two ways are left open to us. The way of the ignorant who thinks that there is only one way to truth. So this is the cause of all the strifes and tensions, all fanaticism in the world. When I say that this is the code of conduct which has to be adopted by all in the society, that leads to all sorts of fanaticism. So he's saying that when there are two ways left, just to think that, like the ignorant, that there is only one way to the truth, and all the rest are wrong, and the way of the wise, who admit that according to our mental constitution or the different planes of existence in which we are, duty and morality may vary. The important thing is to know that there are gradations of duty and of morality, that the duty of one state of life in one set of circumstances will not and cannot be that of another. So now you'll find how nicely Swamiji is gradually coming to the theme of the lecture which he has chosen, that each is great in his own place. We cannot have just a fixed standard of morality and just judge all the people by that. In whatever state you are, for that, the morality which you are supposed to have is something ideal for you, which may be different from the others. But if you are striving your ideal in your way, in which state, in whatever state you are, In whatever state I am, for that state of existence, whatever is my ideal, I am following it sincerely. That proves your greatness. I just cannot say that. Just to give a common example, as a householder has a particular fixed set of duties, a fixed set of morality, which in no way can be equated with that of a sannyasin. But does it mean that only the sannyasi is great because he has renounced everything? No. The householder also has to be considered something great if all the duties and the moralities which he is supposed to follow in that state of existence as a householder, is following it perfectly. He is also equally great as a sannyasi following his ideal. The ideal of the householder and the sannyasi need not be the same. It may be diametrically opposite. But that doesn't mean one is greater and one is an insignificant being. Both can be great in their own place. It's not what's the situation in which they are, what's the profession in which they are, how they're executing that. That's important. What they're doing is not important. How they're doing, that is more important. So that's the thing Swamiji is gradually entering. Now he will enter into one of the great ideals of all spirituality. If you ask that is there any common goal of all the religions, there are so many goals which is common to all the religions. One of them is resist not evil. You may find why. How can resist not evil be the greatest ideal? That Swamiji is going to quote in the next paragraph. So before studying that paragraph, let us give a very prelude to that idea that resist not evil. We won't go to the prelude also today. We will go to the next race of this time is almost over. We will just give an example. Today we will just give an example to show. You will find in all the religions, the highest ideal is resist not evil. In Christianity, the entire Christianity is based on the life of Jesus Christ. If you read the life of the Christ, you will find that when he is being crucified, he has not a single word of curse, a single word of revenge, sense of revenge for all those who were persecuting him, who were crucifying him. His last words are wonderful. Oh Lord, they don't know what they're doing. Please forgive them. Resist not evil. In Islam, there is a particular sect, a particular group of people, the Sufis. In Sufism, the leaders, the spiritual leaders of the Sufism, the founders of the Sufism, is very interesting. They started saying Anal Haq, and it was considered as blasphemous in the entire Islamic world. You know why? Al-Haq means the truth. The moment you add an before that, al-Haq, it becomes I am the truth. How can you say you are God? How the truth, God alone is the truth. You are an insignificant creature. How can you say that you are one with it? As we were indicating in the previous classes, that in all the religions, when it comes to the state of realization, those who have practiced, it is not a mere make-believe. They go to some state of unitary experience. And that's what they were saying. Now, when the so-called, the priests, the so-called, those who used to think that they are the upholders of the religion, they came and started censoring them, warning them, you cannot say that. It's blasphemous. They told, well, it's my realization. And we will find when they were persecuted, they happily are accepting that. They were killed, their limbs were removed one by one, and they were being again and again asked to not say that. Laughingly, they just went on saying that till their last moment in life. Again, that there was no resistance. When you go to that highest realization, that highest ideal, you will find there's no resistance. They are very much fixed to the ideal in the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was going down the street chanting the name of Krishna. The two ruffians, they came. They were totally drunk. They somehow wanted to desist them from chanting the name of Krishna. The Jagai and the Madhai story, you know. Many of you know. And when they couldn't desist, at last they physically tried to stop Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They threw the clay pot in which they were having their alcohol. The alcohol was over. So now that empty pot they broke, and the pieces of the clay, that dried clay, which can really act like weapons, the edges can be so sharp. With that, they struck Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was bleeding. And in that state, he was saying that you have hit me, but that doesn't in any way desist me to give you the name of Krishna, to deliver the name of Krishna to you. With that, he went and hugged them. In the Buddhism, you find the story of Angulimala, where everyone warned Buddha that don't move out, because a dacoit is in search of people. He will just kill the person, and he will cut off his fingers, and with that he's making a necklace. That's why his name was Angulimala. Such a ferocious dacoit he is. So if you go out, he may harm you. Buddha is totally unperturbed. He's moved out. We are not going to tell the total story, but you will find that non-resistance there. From back when Angulimala came shouting at Buddha, stop. Buddha's that famous line is very important. It's a very famous quotation of Buddha. Buddha continued to walk. He came hurriedly moving. Angulimala came hurriedly running towards Buddha and just shouted at him, "Didn't you hear me? I asked you to stop." Now Buddha replied something which apparently appears to be queer. He told, "I have stopped long back. It is you who should stop." Angulimala never understood what he's saying. He told, "What do you mean? It is you should stop. I'm asking you." Then Buddha told, "Many lives back, I have stopped violence. I have stopped the sense of enmity." In the Jataka story says that for lives together, Buddha was preparing himself for the state of nirvana which he reached in the life of Buddha, as a Buddha. That I have stopped violence. I have stopped enmity. I have stopped hatred long back. It is you who have to stop. And that Angulimala, we find, is getting converted by that wonderful, calm personality of Buddha, which came not by punishing Angulimala, not by reprimanding Angulimala, just by delivering love, compassion. That compassion changed the person. So now we will find that in all the religions, you also will now agree with all these examples cited, that the highest idea is resist not evil. Now the question is, can we really practice it in society? If not, how can it be the highest ideal? So Swamiji has now brought us really to a very interesting point with the apparent dilemma, that if resist not evil is the highest ideal, can we really practice in society? All of us. Then what will be the condition of the society? Immediately it will be plundered. Everything is going to in chaotic state. Is it really possible? Then how can it be the ideal? So with this question, let us stop today's discussion, and then we will gradually enter into the ideas which Swamiji is presenting us to bring home to that idea that the highest ideal may be good for a Buddha or Christ, But I myself have to work myself to evolve to that state, to really follow that ideal. Before that, most probably resisting evil is my ideal in the state in which I am. I cannot just simply imitate that ideal with my present state of existence. That Swamiji will gradually bring home that point, bring home gradually to make us convinced with the idea that what is ideal for one may not be the ideal for other. But that doesn't mean that one is good and other is bad. They both are great in their own place if they're following their ideal in whatever state they are sincerely. So with this, we stop our discussion today.
Namaskar, Swamiji. Thank you very much.
Namaskar, namaskar.
Pranam Swamiji.
Namaskar. So I'm ending. I think there is no questions. I'm ending the class too. Namaskar.
Swamiji.